Good morning, Facebook family and friends. I was not ready. Good morning. This is Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson, and today is November the 11th. I almost said the 9th. November the 11th. First and foremost, as always, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your morning to join me. I want to send a shout out to our new watcher from Africa. Thank you for watching, Eric. Really appreciate you. And all of you who takes the time out of your, today to come and be live with me. We're going to go ahead and get started because today we're going to talk about, I mentioned this last week in one of our talks, and I think it may come up as we do a recap of last week, but that's what we're going to talk about, confirmation biases today. Excuse me. Last week we discussed it's called cognitive dissonance, and this is, in psychology, it's when we mentally justify or minimize the harmful aspect of a situation. My team is doing something different here. I don't understand what it is, but anyway. Okay, it's when we minimize the harmful aspect of a situation, and we do that in order to maintain a sense of comfort or to avoid any emotions that are discomforting. So it's called cognitive dissonance, where we justify things in our lives that are not comfortable, so that we justify things that are harmful, so that it doesn't make us feel uncomfortable with it. It helps us to deal with it better. Almost like when we do fragmentation, when we put off those parts of ourselves that hurt ourselves, then we live in, with fragmented parts of ourselves, kind of the same a little bit. This is when we talk ourselves into accepting hurtful things, and we do that by holding two contradictory beliefs at the same time. So it can cause us to rationalize. We create logical explanations for hurtful behaviors, a situation, even if they don't fully align with reality. We create these logical explanations to make them seem less damaging. We can begin to self-sabotage. We actually undermine our own well-being by accepting these hurtful situations. And then sometimes we can, even in that, we can set unrealistic expectations. Our goal, as always, is to identify areas in our life that we want to change, areas in our lives that we want to be better in. I was talking to a very special young lady yesterday, and I brought this up because sometimes she says, and I hope you don't mind me, you know who you are. She said yesterday she didn't like the way she's being treated in the situation, which is, I understand that. I've been there. She didn't like the way she was being treated in the situation. So she kept saying, but that's okay because I'll just do this, but that's okay. See, that's what happens. We know that we're being treated unfairly. It's not okay. It's not okay to be treated unfairly. Yeah, we do things to make ourselves okay in certain situations, but it's not okay. So we want to stop saying it's okay when it's not okay. That's cognitive dissonance. Our goal is to identify these things in our lives, especially when we're trauma survivors, especially when we got things in our lives that we're already managing, already dealing with, and then we're trying to minimize the effect of something. No, we're going to own it. This is how I feel about it. It's not fair. It's not right. I don't like it. Because as long as my brother said to me one time, and I'll go back to as long as my brother Frank said to me one time, he said, you can make yourself okay in any situation you're in. Because I was getting ready to move into the Henry Horner Homes, which people in Chicago know that's the project. And I was getting ready to move in there. He knew it wasn't a safe place to live. And he said to me, you can make yourself content anywhere you want to make. We can make ourselves content in any situation we're in. Bad situation. People do it all the time. People who are abused, they feel like they come up and say, well, he just loved me, or he didn't mean it. We make ourselves okay in these situations. And as long as we can find reasons to be okay in something, then we do nothing about it. We're here today to do something about things in our lives that's affecting us, things in our lives that are hurting us, things in our lives that we don't like. It's very common for people who have experienced traumas to exaggerate these negative thoughts as a way to cope with cognitive dissonance. Survivors may hope for kindness from the abuser and rely on those moments to help them get through the bad time. That's what we do. They ignore or deny the way they feel. That's what I just talked about a little bit. This may include lying about their own beliefs or feelings to pretend that the conflict doesn't exist. Yeah, it exists. Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah, you hurt me. No, I don't like this. That's why it's so important. It is so important to be honest, beginning with ourselves. We need to be real with ourselves. We sometimes would look for proof that the choice, that our choice of belief are correct. We talked about this is what we're going to talk about today. They may begin to look for proof that their choice or belief is correct, and this is called confirmation bias. It happens when a person seeks out the information that supports their point of view and ignores the information that does not support it. So we always looking for something to say, yeah, I'm good. You know, sometimes we have people who we look for friends who are going to agree with us, even though we know already that this is not the best place for me. We know already this is not the best situation for me. We know already that this is hurtful to me. But we look for people to say, you know, to kind of give us an okay with what we are doing, to kind of give us support what we're doing. And it helps us to continue in it. And it helps us sometimes to deal with it. I don't know for sure. And anybody who watched this can comment. I don't know how much we're supposed to deal with. My choice in life is not to deal with anything that's hurtful to me. My choice in life to make changes when I need to. And sometimes, and as I say, not just sometimes, but that's not an easy thing to do. When we make changes in our lives, like we talked about this a while back, sometimes we end up losing friends. Our life, when we make changes, a change is a quote-unquote change. So as we're changing, life changes for us, the environment around us. It changes more than just, okay, I'm not going to accept this anymore. It's going to affect the people who you were accepting it from, your whole environment. You may not have those people around anymore. Their relationship with you could change. So be prepared when you make changes in your life to be prepared for a quote-unquote change. Change is not just a one-sided thing. It's not just, okay, I'm not going to drink water anymore. Something crazy, but I'm not going to drink water anymore. But be prepared for dehydration. Be prepared for these things. Be prepared. That's why we take our time and know we always say that one size does not fit all. You don't have to do what somebody else do. You do what you can to the point that you can. This is your life. So, but we want to make sure that when we're doing this stuff, we have the information needed. So when we make our decisions, we have all available information to make it. Okay. Some other things about cognitive dissonance. There are ways to prevent it, and this includes resolve the the behavior. When we have cognitive dissonance in our lives, there's an urge inside of us for it to be better. Let's go back and talk about my friend from yesterday. There's an urge. Okay, they're not treating me fairly in this situation, so I want them to treat me fairly, because if not treating me fair was not a problem, then we wouldn't be talking about it. But I should be treated fairly. I want to be treated fairly. I deserve to be treated fairly. So there's a yearning kind of on the inside. We hide that sometimes, but it's still on the inside of us. So there's a yearning inside to change this. So when we get information, we learn the facts. So we make up our mind that we're going to change this behavior. When I get the facts, when I get the information I need to help me change it, I'm going to change it. So resolve to do that. Admit that you or someone else can be wrong. They're wrong. They are so wrong for doing that. So admit that to yourself. Admit that when you're wrong. I'm wrong. I did this to myself. Admit that to yourself. Understanding whether or not the expectation we set are realistic. We talked about that last week. Because if you feel as your culture is that the man pay the bills, and that's an expectation for you that he should pay all the bills. But if this man loses his job and doesn't have the finances or the resources, then he can't pay all the bills. So that's an unrealistic expectation. How do you expect him to pay it when there's no finances there? Okay. Research ways to improve when you have a setback. Look for ways. Do your research. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Do your research. Look for ways to improve without blaming others. Stop blaming other people for what our life is not, the way our life is not. I mean, what's happening in our life that we don't want. As long as you blame other people, you're giving other people the power. And if other people don't change, then the situation will not change. So that's why we take ownership of everything in our lives, because long as if I can find a way in me to say, like I think I used for an example a few times back when I said, as long as I say that, why do they keep calling me? We can't stop other people from dialing their phone. If they would just stop doing this, no, as long as we give them that power, where if they stop calling me, then everything will be okay. If she stopped seeing my husband, then my marriage will work. As long as she has the power, then you need her to change. But if she decides not to change, then you're going to still be in that situation you're in. But if you take back your power, instead of saying, if she stopped calling my husband, why don't you stop allowing this in your life? She can call whoever she wants. You married him, not her. If you and him can't work this out, and you can't set some boundaries in your life, that's the only way you get control of your own life, is you set boundaries in your life, and you live up to those boundaries. You uphold the boundaries that you have in your own life. Don't give anybody else that power over you, for them to have to do something for you to be okay. Let's get our lives to a place where we're going to be okay, because any changes that need to be made, we make them. We prioritize your health and your well-being. Always take care of yourself, regardless of what other people think or what other people say. Take care of yourself. We can't help anybody if we're not taking care of ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves, and then we can help our children. And some of our children are grown. We don't have to let them. Sometimes they have to go through some of this stuff so they can see the error of their ways. You can teach them and show them, but sometimes we have to, as parents, take a step back and allow them to be adults. And that means sometimes making mistakes. And sometimes when they do something good, go and make sure we give them kudos. Let them know that, we're proud of them. Let them know that you did good. And stop, and at the same time, encourage the things that they do that are positive, but let's not always confront them with all the things that they're doing bad. We, as growing up, we were always told about the things that was wrong. Are you doing this and you doing that? But we were never told about the things that were good. So sometimes we need to reverse that. Instead of telling, we can give an advice to our kids when they become adults, or we can give advice to our adult kids, but we don't control their lives. We don't control their lives. We don't control their children. That's them. They have to have their lives, and we sometimes have to take a step back. And like I said, this is not easy. For one size does not fit all. You can be that grandparent who's, now I got to make sure my grandbabies are okay. That's up to you. That's the good thing about life. You have a choice. You can stay in something as long as you like, with whatever reason you're in it. You have a choice and a right. Our choice on here, we're becoming whole and authentic in ourselves. We want to live a life that's totally abundant. We want the abundance of life. We want the freedom to live our life. Like, it's not my responsibility when I got a call from my daughter asking me if I could pick her daughter up one day from school. And I was happy to pick up the first day I volunteered both days. I said, well, I can pick up today, and I'll also pick up tomorrow. So that was my choice. But if I had said no to her, that wouldn't have been a problem, because that's the relationship we have. And that means that this is your child. You need to find a way to get her from school. And she would have. She would have. See, it's good when you have the freedom in your life to make your own choices about what you want. But it didn't always happen that way, because there was a time in my life when I would have felt that, oh my God, if I don't go pick them up, then, but I don't have to do all of that anymore. I don't have to control situations. I can only manage and control the things in my life. We have to sometimes be able to accept uncertainty. Some things are out of our control. And there will always be things that we're not 100% sure about. Accept that. We make mistakes. Like I told you, I had to apologize to my son. We make mistakes, and we can admit those mistakes. It's part of being whole. It's okay. We're human. My thing is doing a lot today. See if we can't help it out a little bit. Yeah, we're human. So today I said we said that confirmation. We talked about confirmation biases. So that's what we're going to talk about, confirmation bias today. This is a psychological term for our tendency to only look for information that supports our position or our ideas. If you come up with, we don't want to look for anything that does not agree with what I want, what my ideal or my position. It's when we only seek out information. It causes us to have a bias toward our original position. Because if we only seek out information that supports it, we will only find information that supports it. When we only look for information that supports it, we're only going to find information that supports it. It's always good. You know, when we talked a while back, I forgot what we were talking about, but we said a while back, you want to find those things in our lives that you want to find what's working, and then you want to look for those things that are not working. Well, especially when we have trauma triggers, you know what makes you feel good, but you want to pay attention to those things that make you feel bad. We don't want to dismiss those things because then we need to understand those triggers so that we can do something about them. So don't dismiss those. So that's what confirmation bias is. It is. We look for the things that support what our idea, and anything else we just throw it out. We don't even look for it. We would not look or pay attention to anything that opposes us, and that's not that's not a good idea. When we talk to friends, and we don't, it's good to have friends that support you, but it's also good to have that friend who, if you have a friend, and this is one you be really careful with, be really careful with this one, but you also need a friend who will be honest and open with you. But only, I say this for me, only if that friend that I know that they look at everything else through the mirror of their own life. When I look for friends and ask for advice from people, I look for people who look through the mirror of their own life. So don't tell me that I shouldn't do something when you're doing something the same thing or something even worse. So when I look for people to tell me the truth, I go to people that I feel that I understand that this person, I know that they've admitted things in their lives. They've been open about things in their lives, so I can go to them and talk to them. Because some people are still stuck in that in fragmentation. Some people can't tell you the bad and the ugly, so they don't want to even hear about it. They want to they act like everything is okay in their life. But every time you get ready to go, they tell you why you shouldn't do this, but they're doing something. They're doing something that's just as hurtful, or maybe even more hurtful. So, in simple terms. So when you go back and when you go to your friend, look for opposing. You want people to tell you the truth, whether you agree with them or not. It's still going to be your choice whether you follow through on what they gave you, but you still want to look for people with opposing ideas. You make your decision based on all available information. You want to take all of that information. Don't throw out information. Information is awesome. Do not throw it out. Take a look at it. If it's good for you, use it. If it's not, don't. So in simple terms, confirmation biases is the tendency to seek out and prefer information that supports our pre-existing belief. That's the definition. In trauma, when we have trauma, confirmation bias refers to the tendency for individuals who have experienced some type of traumatic event to selectively focus on or interpret information that confirms their negative belief. You know, because trauma will lead us having a lot of negative beliefs about ourselves. You know, well, I'm not worthy. Well, the world is dangerous. All of this stuff. You know, where everybody is bad. When we go to putting everybody in the same category. And trauma, it refers to the tendency of a person who have experienced these traumatic events to selectively focus on and interpret information that confirms our negative beliefs about ourselves, about the world, or the situation that's following the trauma. So we look for that. So we really want to be mindful. We have a tendency to focus on those things. So we want to be mindful that this could be confirmation bias. This could be, maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm looking for somebody to say that this is okay. You know, we can admit things are okay. We can admit things are not okay. But we're real with ourselves. It can cause selective memory. When we have confirmation bias as trauma survivors, it will give us sometimes selective memory. People who've experienced trauma may primarily recall negative moments related to the event, while minimizing or even forget about positive experiences. And this further solidified their negative view of the situation. You remember, when I talked to you about my childhood, it took a long time for me to be able to find fun in my childhood because of the negative experiences that I had. I thought that my entire childhood was horrible because of some encounters. My entire childhood was not horrible. But when we've experienced trauma, we recall those negative things. And even not just in our childhood, as adults, when something happened at work and it's trauma, something happened, somebody said or do something that's traumatic to you, makes you feel overwhelmed, it really affects you. It will have you, it can lead us to not even see the good and fun things about work because we focus on that negative thing. That's what we don't want our lives to be. We don't want our lives to be that negative thing. That's why we always try to live in the moment, because what it'll do, it'll take us back to a place where we keep reliving it and reliving it, and we also keep bringing it back to and connecting it with current situations. Okay, I was abused as a kid. When somebody do something now as an adult, then all my life I've been abused. The devil is a lie. All my life I have not been abused. I was abused as a kid. Yes, I was. I'm an adult. Whatever happened, this is a one situation separate from the other situation. We want to have control. We want to. That's why we live in the moment. This has nothing to do with that. This has nothing to do with what somebody else did. This is a different day. This is happening now. That's why we try and make sure that we live in the moment. Let me see. There some comments that I want to see. Hey, Sister Joyce, always good to see you. Good morning, Shakina. That may be my Elaine, but Shakina and Johnny Showers, thank you for joining this morning. Really appreciate you. Good morning. And David, you know your mama loves you. Thank you for joining this morning. Thank all of you for joining this morning. I really appreciate this. I think that this is a very interesting topic, because we always want to be better. We're seeking to be whole. We're seeking to be authentic. We're seeking to be the best that we can be, and we deserve the best. We are awesome. They even know. I used to tell them when they were kids, "You're hell of a." That was my word. You're wonderful. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. We don't have to, we don't allow anymore people to make us feel that we're not. Yes, we are. And if we do feel that we are, remember, our emotions are not us. They belong to us, but they are not us. Even if I don't feel worthy, I'm yet worthy. If I don't feel that I'm the best, I'm still the best. Know that about yourself. There has been some research on biases. This is when we only research or look, like I talk about, bias research. When we only, not there has been research, when we only research or look for information that support our assumption. So let's say, for example, if you search for a question with two variables, if you search for something that say, is renting better than buying? If you say it that way, you're going to get your search results is going to support the renting versus the buying. It's going to show you renting over buying. If you change that and say is buying better than renting, then you get search results that support buying. See that what I'm saying? With the way, whatever you're going to look for, those are the results that you're going to get. If you're looking for somebody to say you're right, you're going to find that. And you're going to dismiss all the rest. So if you say it's renting better than buying, the information going to come up about renting. If you say buying better than renting, the information is going to come back about buying. If you ask your friend, if you go to somebody and ask them something about your relationships or whatever you're going through, and you're looking for that answer, the way you go and give it to them, that's what you're looking for. That's the information. But go in ways that where your questions are open. Go in ways that you're looking for information from both sides. And still make your own decision. Nobody can come in and make your decision for you. There's interpretation bias. Different types of bias. So there's interpretation bias, and this is also known as negative self-perception. When we encounter new information, remember we said that whenever there's we're always seeking at something on the inside of us that want things to be better. When we're in negative, or when we're in hurtful situations, we want something inside of us to want to be better. When encountering the new information, we get this new information. Individuals with trauma may interpret it in a way that aligns with their existing negative belief, even if that information they got is neutral, or it could have been interpreted in a positive way. We can interpret it the glass is half empty. We can interpret it the glass is half full. We do that a lot of times. And I try to see the good in things. I try to see the good. Like I know that like something happened, whatever happened. There's a fire in this building. The fire in the building doesn't become the main thing for me. The fact that everybody got out alive becomes the main thing for me. Helps me to focus, to change my perception of what happened and seek the positive instead of negative. But sometimes when we encounter new information, when we have trauma in our life, we can add that to, man, see, I get a nice place and now look what's happening. We can add that to what's already in our life. So we support, we get, we start, We start looking for things that kind of support it, not actively, mentally looking for it, but we do look for it. Okay. We interpret in ways that align with our existing negative belief. See, why would they come over here and set this building on fire? It could have been an electrical fire. But why did people, now somebody that set the building on fire, we started thinking like that. And we want to change the way that we want to put those aside. When they come up, we own them, but we put them out, we take them away. We start to look for some other interpretation, some neutral interpretation. It could have been anything. Like when people start to tell you about what's going to happen with the world, we don't know that. We do not know that. So instead of me allowing people to come and have conversations with me about all these negative things is gonna happen to us, I said, well, maybe not. It could be totally different from what any of us think. We don't know. Another bias is intentional bias, where we're paying attention. Attentional bias, where trauma survivors might have an increased tendency to focus on stimuli that remind them of the traumatic event. And this further triggers anxiety, and this further triggers negative emotion. When our attention is on things that when we would look for things that remind them of traumatic events. Ooh, this happened. We see something on TV about in the news about some little kid, and we focus on this, and we pay our attention to these type of things. We pay our attention to these. They trigger the anxiety in us, and it kind of like it reminds of me of my traumatic event. It reminds me of when I didn't have. And sometimes when we allow that, we'll start making decisions, and those decisions do not necessarily be the best decision. I wanted people to have better than me. I wanted people to be better than me. And I would focus on every time somebody had an issue, I thought I was supposed to go and fix it. No, I'm not. I thought I was supposed to go and help. You don't always have to help. You need to sometimes stop and wait and let your heart lead you. You need to let your mind get the information you need before you start doing things. Before we start making decisions, before we start trying to help people some people need to have their lights off. Some people need to know that if you take your money and go out and buy things, just shopping, that your lights need to go off so you understand that you need to pay your light bill. But as long as you paying the light bill for them, they may not ever see that they need that. So we need to stop focusing on, well, I don't want them to go through that. It's okay. They're going to be okay. Let them be okay. Let them heal. Let them grow. That's what we talked about when we help other people. We want to be supportive, but we don't want to be want to be an enabler. And then there's an impact on recovery. Well, confirmation bias can hinder the healing process and make it difficult to challenge negative belief and develop a balanced perspective. When we're only trying to support what I believe, it can hinder the healing process. If I don't hear Norma say to me, Rosie, you got to get over it. If I don't hear those things, those people that's being, you know what, you get a choice, Rosie, you're going to either live with it or you can make some changes and get out of it. If I don't hear that stuff, if I'm not getting that information, it makes it difficult to challenge those negative beliefs. It hinders our healing process. So we want to make sure that we're getting the information that we need. So it can hinder the healing process and make it difficult to challenge those negative beliefs and develop a more balanced perspective. Everybody's not bad. All men are not rapists. All men are not cheaters. All women are not wearing weave. All women are not wearing lashes. Most women are not wearing them to please no man. They're wearing them for themselves. They do it because they like it. Men do what they like because they like it. We're all individuals. I don't expect nobody to be who I used to know. Every relationship is a new relationship. All of this stuff is new. We can live in a world of newness, or we can keep adding those things and get a pile of stuff that will hinder us for the rest of our lives if we allow it to. And will hinder us from recovering and being everything that we can be. It can even cause, confirmation biases can even cause selective memories in trauma survivors. People who have experienced trauma recall those negative memories. I said that, help go back to recalling those negative memories, and that happens. That happens to us when we're dealing with confirmation bias. We talked about it can lead to memories, your biased memories, or distortions. Traumatic memories can be fragmented and distorted. You know that when something happened, you just remember part of it, but you don't know all the details. Your memory kind of like what the mind does. It kind of protects us. We're talking about fragmented, where it puts some of the bad in different places, so you know it's not all right there and you at the same time, because we don't know how to deal with it that way. So traumatic memories can be fragmented and distorted. And confirmation bias can lead a survivor to focus on those. That's why it helps us to focus on those traumatic events and minimize the positive aspect of anything, such as when I was growing up, the fun that we had, the good that we had. Is that we start to minimize that. Studies show that we may remember events that support an idea more than the one that disproves it. Because that's the way the body works. We remember those things. Hey, James, good, love you, thank you so much. This is we look for things that support our ideas, and we don't want to hear anything that disproves it. But we need those things. We need to know. We need the things that disprove it. We need the things that we need to be assured when we're right, but we need to get better when we're wrong. We need to have those things in our life. We need people to say stuff to our life, you know, to us that's real. We need those real people and real things. So sometimes we have to do our own research. Biased memories is a part of what maintains stereotypes. You know, we get these biased memories, and it maintains these stereotypes. Even if an individual person doesn't fit every stereotype of their cultural group, we may be more likely to remember things about them that support the existing stereotypes. Biased memories. We don't want our memories to be biased, because if we do, it helps us we start stereotyping people. Yeah, they do this. That people do that. All people do that. We don't know all people. I don't even know. I probably don't even know 2,000-3,000 people. We don't know all people. The people that I have known do that. The people that I've encountered did that. But that doesn't mean that's all people. That's why we want to make sure, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. That's why we want to make sure that when we are in as we meet people, as we do things, that we know this is brand new. Everything, life every day is brand new. And it can cause hypervigilance. Survivors may be hypervigilant to potential threats, leading them to interpret ambiguous, uncertain situation as dangerous. This even further confirmed their fear-based belief. Okay, when I'm saying that, let me read it again, and then I'll come back and give an example. Survivors may be hypervigilant and potential threats, leading them to interpret uncertain situation as dangerous, further confirming their fear-based beliefs. So when our beliefs are fear-based, these things can we may be we become hypervigilant through these things. Let me just give you an example. A person who experienced a violent robbery constantly scan their surroundings for potential threats, even in places where they're safe. They're in somewhere where it's safe, they're with people, but they're still looking around and scanning their surroundings because they were, because of what happened to them in the past. They're primarily focused on finding evidence that confirms that their fear of being attacked again. So they have a fear of being attacked again, and they're looking around because they're actually looking for it. They're actually looking for it. They're trying to, their mind is confirming that I'm right about this. That if I'm out here, people will attack me. So they're looking for it. Not intentionally want to be hurt, but they're looking for it. And a survivor, someone who's been sexually assaulted, may interpret just a casual comment from a stranger as a potential threat, because they have a heightened sensitivity to cues that could be interpreted as dangerous. Somebody say something to them that's just a casual comment, but they think that he's trying to come on to me. Oh, can't trust him. I can't trust him because of what they've been through. We're working to become better. We're working to not to live that way. There is no one reason why confirmation bias exists. Excuse me. There's not one reason. There's a lot of reasons. There are several different theories about why people tend to have these biases. Some are they help to process information. Some people believe that confirmation bias help them to sort through the large amount of information they see every day. So if they got a bias about certain things, they just sort through the ones that support what they have. So they think that it helps them to get through these information. Sometimes it helps people feel that it helps them to build confidence. Some experts think that people seek out information to support their opinion, to preserve or build their own self-confidence. Finding information that supports their idea makes them feel more confident. Okay, I was right. It's so important to some people to be right. It's so important to some people to be right. It's so important to some people to be right all the time. It's okay. We make mistakes. The only person who does not make a mistake is that person who's not doing anything. If you move, you do things, you're going to make mistakes. It's okay, and it does not take away from the fact that you're wonderful. It does not take away from the fact that you're beautiful. It does not take away that. And another reason it could reduce mental conflict is that it reduces the risk of mental conflicts. And this is, that's called cognitive dissonance. So some people use confirmation biases because it helps to reduce that, that conflict. As you may recall last week, we talked about cognitive dissonance, when someone holds two opposing ideals at the same time. These people are likely to experience some kind of psychological stress, and confirmation bias may lower their risk of feeling the negative emotion from that stress. So if I can confirm, when I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with cognitive dissonance, and then I feel that pressure and I feel that stress, and if I can confirm that I'm right, it helps to alleviate or helps to minimize the stress that I feel in my mind. Hopefully that makes sense. It's important that we recognize confirmation bias in our life. It's important to recognize it, especially in these modern internet era, where people are constantly faced with more and more information than ever before. Confirmation bias has the potential to shape our view of the world. It can affect everything from our political views to hiring practices in the workplace. That's why it's important to recognize these biases, because if we don't recognize it, we start to see in the world in a way that aligns with our bias. Some people, there was a time when people felt that if a person, we were able to wear jeans during the latter part of my career, but before then, they felt that if you dressed up, that you did better work. But research came back and found that when people dress comfortably, they can produce more. But it's a confirmation bias, because they felt that that's the way they grew up. That's the environment they grew up in, that you should always dress up, you should always do that. And so that's what they felt. To diminish or to lessen the effect of it, we need to do more thorough research. When searching for information, we want to in our lives, especially in our psychological aspect, and especially too with trauma survivors too. We don't want to have confirmation. We don't want to have biases that confirm the negative things that we believe. So we read articles. That's why we do this research. That's why we come on here and talk. We come on here and share this information, hope that if you find something like this in your life, that you go back and do some more research. Don't make judgment based upon, like if you do go and you find a bias or something that you find that you're biased about, and you read a headline, you read an article. Don't make a decision about anything based on the headline. Don't do that. I wish I remembered the guy name on Facebook. And he always put these headlines out there. I don't know if it's a guy, girl, whoever. But they always put these headlines out there. Another family member, famous family person died. And they want you to go to the comments to see who it is. But if you just read that and let your mind tell you, in your mind will think that there's somebody else famous who passed away. And then when you go in the comments, he may come up and say something happened to somebody. But then when you go on a more reliable site, the person is fine. So you see what I'm saying? When we get information, we were talking about something the other day. I forgot what it was we were talking about. And we looked it up. And I said, no, that's not, I don't think that's accurate. And they looked it up and said it was. And I said, check your source. Check your source. Check your source. Look at a little more information. Analyze these articles. Analyze stuff for reliable evidence to support the argument that's being made. Analyze it. Don't just accept things. My mama used to say, baby, you're not a bird. You're not a baby bird. Don't swallow everything somebody put in your mouth. You don't have to, it doesn't necessarily have to be true. Your friends don't always tell you the truth. All you got to do is let them keep talking. When they say that first stuff, you're going to hear the top part, what they say, the tip of the iceberg, but you let them keep on talking. They're going to tell you how they really feel. If necessary, do further research on the evidence presented to make sure that it's trustworthy. And then look for opposing ideas. If the idea says that, all our phones are going to go out in 2025, look up and see what's going to be, what will be the new phone in 2027. Look for it. Look for opposing ideas. Don't just accept that, oh yeah, this is how it is, because then it can leave us to confirm the biases that we may already have. We don't want to do that. We want to always make our decision based on all available information, but we also want to be mindful of a few things. We want to be mindful of it's called the backfire effect. This states that when you are presented with an opposing opinion, you double down and strongly commit to your position. We want to be careful of that. So we have a bias, or we have a cognitive dissonance in our lives, and we get something that opposes it. Somebody say something, we get some information that doesn't agree with it, and then we double down on ours and make us even stronger to say, oh yes it does, oh no it doesn't. We don't want to. That's called the backfire effect. We don't want to double down on something just because we got some opposing information. We want to open ourselves enough to consider all information, because we need all of it to make the best decision. Then also there's the halo effect. This is a phenomenon that occurs when you allow one trait of something to overshadow a more nuanced impression of the entity in a positive manner. So this is the halo effect, where you let one trait of something overshadow all the other positive matter that could be. We don't want to do that either. Is it an example of the halo effect? If you perceive someone as generous, you may also assume that they're a caring person. Just because they gave you something don't mean they're caring. So that's what I'm talking about, the halo. We don't take one aspect of something and add to it. Or these person, that's why it's important. We always talk about getting to know people. It's important to get to know people. You may see something and say, well, oh, they're this, but you don't know. Allow yourself to get to know. Stop making assumptions. Don't make assumptions. Let them. You'll find out. Just allow them time to talk. Allow their time to pass. You'll find out. And then there's the group attribution bias. This type of bias occurs when you assume a group has stereotypical qualities. They're stereotypical qualities of that group. So let's say that a young girl had a brother and he used to hit her all the time. So then she grows up thinking all boys are abusive. Okay, like the one I just said that somebody given, because I think that's what had happened in the church. People saw something happen in church, at one church, and they figure all churches are this way. Not necessarily. No, not all of them are not the same way. Or something happened with one person, and if they just to make up in their mind, this is the group attribution of bias. We don't want that either. We want to make sure that we're mindful of that too. I think that's where we're going to start for today. We want to once again say thank you to everyone who joined us. Let me look. Okay, we still got the same comment. Thank you so everyone who joined us this morning. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We do our affirmation, and then we're in for today. Our affirmations for today: I accept myself for who I am. I deserve love and respect. I'm proud of myself. I will continue to strive and do well. I am worthy and I'm whole. I actively seek out and address any biases that I may have. I take full ownership of my life, and I am always a safe place for myself. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be with us. We will be back on Friday morning with Friday's Word, and again on Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. You all have a very blessed day. Thank you again. Goodbye.